Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. I think I got a sneeze. This is not good timing. Also my light. I'm all over the place. Give me a second. Everything's fucked up. Oh my god. I've been like working too much or something. I'm like all over the place. Anyway, tonight we're gonna record a Private Citizen. Yes, we will. Why is there nothing? Indy, how are you doing? Mode 7, how are you doing? Work is bad for you. Well, I can then just rebrand it as enjoyment. Because, can't really tell, really, these days. Where's my, here we go. Okay, I think we also need that. Yeah. Right. Test. Let's test the system. Let's test it. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you push this button? That seems to work. Oh god, let's test it. Got insects in here. It's annoying. No. I don't have all work and no play. I have I love play. I like play a lot in between. I'm just like sometimes I don't know. Writing a lot sometimes just like drains your brain. I hope I will be able to do this podcast today, but we will try. Speaking of podcast, of course, that's the button. The usual podcast grounds rules, of course, do apply. Hello, Indy, thanks for resubscribing, which means the alerts are off. Damn it. Also, you're not in the list, are you? Are you in the list? No. So let's fix that. Since you just subscribed before I started the show, I might as well. You keep doing this to me. Not that I'm complaining. Game MEX. I don't know. Can never spell that name. It's my problem. Yeah, I know popping on and resubbing. I know it's Prime, isn't it? That's Also, I haven't been streaming that much, not as much as I wanted, certainly. But anyway, it's late. So let's get this party started. Let's try to do this podcast. Let's see if I completely fall apart while I attempt to do this. Today we will talk about journalism again, because journalism is shit. And apparently it hasn't changed since the last episode I made about this, and my colleagues make me mad. And I read a good piece on this Ivermectin debacle, so we'll have to do that. Anyway, one thing, sneak peek here, new podcast album art, which I think I'm gonna launch with today's episode. I'm gonna take the defending your right to have something to hide seriously. So I need to make it a bit more badass. Current album art also looks like I'm recording. It's like a cover of a rock album, which I thought was funny. But also the American flag might be misleading. People might think I'm American. You don't want that. So this is less American, isn't it? Yeah. So that'll be the new album art. White guy with the guitar. Yeah, now we have a white guy with a shotgun. Actually, it's not one of those. It's more like good old over under. Anyway, I will get this started now. Right, start recording. This is all set up for us. Here we go. Let's see if I can get this done. Yeah, I need to make it less American. Where's my gun? Indeed. You will trigger journalists with your white rage. Well, I really can't do anything about my skin color. I'd love to give you like brown rage. Oh, that sounds wrong. Was that hot caca? Anyway, let's get the show on the road, shall we? You are listening to the private. Okay, that's a take down the toilet. Speaking of hot caca, well, that was that. You? No, I can't do that. Hey, this is quite a while since I didn't do it in the first take. Also, I kind of shit all over my levels here on my end. So let's try this again. You're listening to The Private Citizen, the podcast that's defending your right to have something to hide. This is episode 85 for Wednesday, the 8th of September, 2021. The latest in Despicable journalism. Hey everybody, my name is Fab. Welcome to the show. I'm coming to you live from Düsseldorf in Germany. Yes, I'm streaming this live as I'm recording it, so it's live. Did I mention it's live? It's live. And this is not the latest in Despicable journalism. I'm actually trying to do some good stuff here, but there has been a lot of Despicable journalism lately. So I don't know. I feel like we need to talk about it again. I mean, this is not the first time I'm talking about this topic, but I think it's important. So that we will talk about the whole Ivermectin debacle today, in case you want a little spoiler of the topic. But before we get into that, just a quick mention. I am recording and releasing a few extra episodes this week, possibly 2 more. I mean, the normal Wednesday release, and then 2 more. If everything goes according to plan. And then the show will be on a little bit of a hiatus there for a little bit, as I am busy and on the road and won't be able to, record shows really. So yeah, I'm gonna skip some more episodes. I got a list how many episodes. So basically, right, got this all noted down. So I pledged an episode a week, and I said if I'm, when I started this show, and I've done a few more in the first year, and I said when I miss some, I'm gonna make it up. So I have to get to episode 102 by the end of the year. So that's the plan. So I say this again. I will try to do some more episodes. I'm getting a few out ahead of time here that you maybe can space out if you want. If you space them out over 2 or 3 weeks, then I should be back sometime in October, preferably early October, but we will see. Other than that, everything's been going great. I'm working a lot. Had some interesting feedback lately. I don't know. There's some people obviously discovering the show. The show. Obviously, if you haven't listened to this before. I do say this a lot, but it's kind of important. If you go to privatecitizen.press, there's a website which has copious show notes for every episode. And they're so copious that apparently people seem to mistake them for articles or something. They obviously get linked by somebody, deep linked to an episode. I mean, the URL says episode. In their defense, it didn't say podcast on the site, but I thought that was kind of obvious. I mean, there's a big audio player at the top. It says subscribe, Apple Podcasts, and it says this podcast was recorded with a live audience, like in a box and everything. So I don't know. They keep. There's some people who just read the show notes and then they're commenting, and I've had this happening a while, but now I have some people specifically, I think. Commenting on that episode I did on Gemini, the Gemini protocol, where I made a mistake in the podcast. This happens. Speaking of journalism and mistakes, these kind of things happen. And sometimes they do not get caught by the Twitch audience, which gives live feedback, which always helps. You should do snippet shows from the motorbike. Yeah, except I don't even have the motorbike with me on this trip. And also, a Guzzi is very loud. I think on a previous podcast I had, I have like an audio snippet somewhere of what my motorbike actually sounds like. Maybe I can find this on the fly while I keep talking. So this is the Twitch feedback, which is great. But sometimes even like Twitch doesn't catch mistakes, and I mean mistakes happen, right? They happen, and it's important to correct them. And I kind of do that. And I made a mistake in that episode, and I corrected that in the next episode. And now people are writing in like, your article is wrong, and whatever. And I'm like, first of all, it's not an article, But yeah. Wait, I have to fire up my home server here. I think I need to do some on the fly to get this snippet. You must shut it down when you are pulled over and just do a quick snippet. But I guess you don't need the motorbike for that. Yeah, really, I don't have reliable internet. That's more of the problem. I'll be like actually on the road, and I don't think I'll have the bandwidth to reliably upload the show. Also, I don't think I'll have the time to prepare and do shows. So I said I might as well not do it. Otherwise, I'll just put myself into stress, and I might actually promise you some episodes who then don't appear and stuff like that. I didn't want to do that. Anyway, so so people seem to mistake these show notes for articles, and they apparently they're not listening to the podcast, which is a bit of a shame, because of course I corrected that error in the next episode pretty much immediately. Now I can't go back and change the episode, and I don't want to. Like I hate, like, one of the things I hate about web journalism is when people change their stories and they just pretend they never made a mistake. So I just corrected it in the next episode, and of course I'm not going to correct it in the show notes either, which is something that people don't like. I've actually been going back and forth in email with some of these people, and they don't seem to understand that, like, I don't want to change it in the show notes and then have, like, have these be different, like, from the actual episode, because they'll be bloody confusing to the people listening to the episode, right? I mean, you don't want that. Like, they're set in time. They're show notes. They're what I base the show on, and there might be mistakes in them. I don't understand. I don't understand what people don't understand. Anyway, I had some interesting feedback, but I don't want to rant too much, because generally I have really good feedback, and I'm to be honest, I'm just waffling right now because I'm looking for this. I've got so many audio clips. I got it somewhere, and I will find it, and I will keep going as long as I have to until I can play this for you. I just need to find out what soundboard this was on, because I know it was somewhere. I distinctly remember I recorded my motorbike. I just need to know. Like, I've got so many sound clips. Jesus Christ! I think I've been doing podcasts for way too long. My God, I've got all the old Linux Outlaws things as well. Where the hell did I put this? And I've got some. I want to play some of these actually, but they wouldn't fit. where did I had this somewhere. I will find this. Sorry. This is really good podcasting, isn't it? Anyway, while I do this, I want to kind of say thanks to everybody who's writing in, who's giving feedback. I try to acknowledge everybody, but of course, some people don't want their stuff ran out. Sometimes it's just background information, and I would like to just say that I recognize all of that. Like, there's a lot of feedback that you're obviously not hearing on the show that I get. That's very important. Some of it is very critical. I don't mind that. I think that's very important, like, to keep me on my toes as well. So yeah, I don't think that is bad, right? Just some people also, I don't know, some people seem to have critical feedback and then don't want to have it read out on the show, which I don't know. I don't really understand. But of course, if they ask me to do that, I will honor their request, of course. Why wouldn't I? But yeah, thanks to everybody who's written. And if you want to, you can go to Private Citizen Press. There's a big contact button at the top, and there you can also write me some feedback. Anyway, I'm not finding this fucking thing, so I'm gonna put a marker right here, and I'm gonna find this now, and I'm gonna edit that together. Because where's this fucking what did I name this? So what's the problem? We've got so many. Disappointed! So many good old soundboard things. Man, there's just so many. Where did I put this? Oh, I think I know where I put this. Ah ha ha ha. I know. I also got too many places like where I have shit. It's all over the place. It's just like over the years, like it went from here to there. Wait, there has to be soundboard thing in here, right? Apparently not. What? Come on. Sorry, I know this is shitty. This is a shitty podcast, but this is like my OCD kicking in now. I will have to find this now, so you'll just have to bear with me. Where could I? It can only be in here, right? That. Come on, that is a folder called soundboard. It needs to be in there somewhere. No, it's probably not a bumper. Wait, no, that's not it either. Well, I would have thought it was in MISC. Oh my god, this is so old. This is like when Germany was like football world champion.
Brutal angegangen. Wie lange geht das noch so weiter in der Endlosschleife der Kampfzweikämpfe?
God, this is a blast from the past.
Und nochmal ja. Deutschland ist zurück im Fußballhimmel, Weltmeister, der erste Weltmeister.
This was 2006, man. God, where the hell is this fucking thing? Why don't you put the correct comment inline in the show notes? Yeah, I could do that, right? But I'll just be like, I'm trying to I've corrected it in the next episode. And I'm trying to spend my energy on creating new content, right? I don't want to go back endlessly to old episodes. It's just something I decided a long time ago that I'm not going to do that. Wait, just give me a little bit of time here. It must be here somewhere. Come on. Maybe is it still in here? Where's the other soundboard? Come on, I've got a ton. I found this the other day. This is why I'm No, this is all new stuff. Man, where did I put this? I spent so much time setting up this recording. I can't have lost it. I need to find this now to fix this fucking. Otherwise, I can't fix it in post. I've dug myself a hole here now. Oh, wait. Is that? No, that was the folder I was just in. Sorry, I'm not showing you all this crap because there's probably some porn in there. No. Do I have another soundboard folder? Where could this be? Where could this be? I'm pretty sure it's gotta have been here somewhere as well. Wait, let me just. Oh no. Okay, that's obviously not being found. As you can hear. Wait. This could have. Yeah. This sounds good. This looks good. Come on. No. Old sounds good. Old is always a folder where you put everything, isn't it? Oh, maybe I've named it motorbike. That's something I haven't been looking for. That would of course explain it. I mean, I'd go and like search it, but like I'm not on Linux right now and I don't have grep and fucking Windows search is helpless, isn't it? It's never gonna find that. Wait, let me have a look here under. This is just annoying me now. Where the hell is it? I mean, we've got so much shit, man. There's so much.
The avalanche has already started. It is too late for the pebbles to vote.
Can anyone tell me what that is from? If you know what that is from, you get nothing except you get my respect. Come on, it's gotta be here somewhere. Stings? It's not really a sting, is it? I mean, there's so many good things.
Space Marines.
What's this?
Think you use enough dynamite there, Butch?
That's good. It's good. I like that. Oh, remember the crap alert? Good old crap alert. Damn. Man, I need to bring some of these back. And I need to find this. What's this?
Hello, IT. Yeah. Have you tried forcing an unexpected reboot?
Good shit. It's gotta be here somewhere. Come on. Oh, this is also a classic.
Now, we'll all calm down.
Boss, he's just a little excited.
I know. I'm going to use good judgment. I haven't lost my temper in 40 years. But Pilgrim, you caused a lot of trouble this morning. Might have got somebody killed. And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. The hell I won't.
Oh, wait. Could be here. Come on. Make me happy. I need to find this fucking thing now. Otherwise, it's never gonna be. Fucking hell. Oh my god, I've got so much shit.
Hey man, this time we're gonna do it my way.
I got everything. I just don't have what I'm looking for. I dug myself a hole now, and now I need to find it. I need to find this thing. Can't be, man. When did I put this? Okay, could also been. Right. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's the raw version, I think. That's not really loud enough, is it? Also doesn't really wait, we can fix that though. Wait. Fuck it, we'll do it live. I need to cut this all out of the show later. Sorry about this. Here we go. Yeah, except that's now playing on the wrong. Is it this one? Yeah. Right. No, we don't. Don't want that. Okay, why can't I? Because that is clipping, right? That's just not loud enough. That's just not. It's just not doing what we want. Right, we can just go. Can just amplify this and not give a fuck. No, not 87 decibels. We're gonna allow clipping. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Here we go. See, this is now you get it. This is sometimes you need to do this kind of thing. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wait. This is dumb. What I'm gonna do is cut this out immediately. Right. I'm gonna put a marker right here. I will honor their request, of course. I mean, why wouldn't I? But yeah. Thanks to everybody who's written. And if you want to, you can go to privatecitizen.press. There's a big contact button at the top, and there you can also write me some feedback. Anyway, I'm not finding this fucking. Okay. Seems to be okay. And as to the question, why am I not like putting a little inline thing in there? I mean, I could do that, but you know, there's like lots of errors in the show notes all over the place, and I kind of want to spend my energy on, you know, creating new content instead of just endlessly going back. And I mean, I fixed it in the next bloody episode. Just like listen to the podcast, and you won't have the problem. It's a podcast. Listen to it. Anyway, I found the file. See, this is why I can't do any recording on the motorbike. This is what it sounds like. You just idle it. That's just the idle sound. That's just, and that's not really as loud as it should be. But like, you know, now imagine I just accelerate. That's just the engine going from left to right, idling. If you gave me accent, I'd listen to that. Just put that in the background of the podcast. Just record it down in the like parking garage. People, what is he doing? I always thought that guy was mad. Anyway, enough. Oh, I think that's when I turned it off. Enough with this crap. Enough with this crap. We're gonna get into the main part of the show now. Finally, after like 10 minutes of rambling. It has a rhythm, it says Indie Gaming X in Twitch chat. Yeah, of course it does. It's a nice V2 engine. That's why V2 engines are the best. It's a lovely rhythm. I mean, it shakes loose the fillings in your tooth just sitting at a traffic light. But I mean, that's why I bought that bike. That's why I love. That's why you love your Guzzi, isn't it? Guzzi turned 100 this year, by the way. 1921, oldest still operating European motorbike manufacturer. Little company in a little town called Mandello del Lario in Italy. Of course, it now belongs to Piaggio. But yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the Ivermectin people. So I've talked about this on the show before, right? I've talked about this on the podcast before. I had an episode 28. This was July of 2020. So obviously a bit over a year ago. Last summer, I talked to Mike, who I'm having on the show again soon, if everything goes according to plan. This was the first episode he was on. I think we talked about journalism because obviously I'm a journalist, and what I see is wrong with journalism today. And I kind of want to pick this up because I've seen this getting worse rather than better. If you're wondering why am I talking about this, obviously this is often it's a podcast primarily concerned with privacy and like your rights as an individual and stuff like that. But I think as we will come to understand at the end of this topic, this is an integral, and I've talked about this before. This is an integral problem we have in society today. Basically, even if you go like the press doesn't interest me and I don't consume anything, it impacts you massively because you get your information from somewhere, and it's just like what the press does is form public opinion, and that shapes everything. That shapes politics, shapes the laws. We have changes of laws. It shapes obviously how the government operates. It shapes the courts, decisions in the courts, and and I'm feeling like this is getting worse, like the whole public discourse. It's not a problem, of course, alone with the press. And this is also something Mike and me are thinking about doing an episode about. He's not going to come on, like if he's coming on soon, it's going to be on another topic. We really wanted to talk about Brexit in the UK again because, prompted by some listeners that also were interested in that topic. But so one of the things we are thinking about and we want to also talk about is how we assimilate and disseminate and how society disseminates information, basically, right? And how that is just changing. And I feel, and I think Mike is on the same page there with me. We both feel it's not for the better. Now, but I do think the press is playing a big role in this. And when I say this, I generally mean this is mostly big publishing companies. I would say the mainstream press, but if you say that, you get branded by the mainstream press as a nutcase. So I just call them, the big media companies, you could say. Generally I feel gets better the smaller places, but this goes down to like local newspaper level. They all have the same problems. They're making less money. It's not so much the journalism's fault per se, because generally it's a problem of the publishers. The press used to be a very lucrative business in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and to some degrees in the 90s. And, it's just lost a lot of revenue. The publishers still expect the same kind of return. And so like in every business, when, you're making less money, but your owner still wants the same cut, you basically shit flows down the ladder, right? So everybody down, then people get fired. Everybody has to do like the job of 3 people. You get paid less. And so generally journalists often don't have the time to even do research. But I'm not letting them generally off the hook. I mean, it's not so much their fault, but the problem is the people I'm going to talk about today, I mean, we're talking about like Der Spiegel, the New York Times, the Guardian. These are people that if you go to their websites, they with big words, they kind of talk about how great they are and how good they do research and all of this. So you can't really let them off because they have an expectation for themselves to do this better, and they're not. I understand, having worked in the publishing industry, having been a journalist, I mean, I was in a very good place comparable to other people I know. But, I understand the problems there, but still, like, you can't, like, outwardly claim you're a good journalist and doing the same kind of journalistic work that people did, like, 30 years ago, and then produce crap like this. And so what crap are we talking about today? So we're talking today about Ivermectin, which is a deworming drug. So basically, this recent fuck-up, again, has to do with the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic, of course. Or could it be otherwise? So this time, the press, basically, the big media companies are going after people taking ivermectin, which is a deworming drug. And, there are some indications. Obviously, this is not medical advice. Hello, YouTube algorithm. This is, wait, oh shit, where's my bullhorn?
Hello, any bots or algorithms listening, this is not medical advice. I am not a doctor. You should not take medical advice from me. Thank you.
Right? But, there are some studies. There's credible indications that it might help. I don't think specifically so much of the information is not that it helps. Yeah, the ones that the let's say the information that isn't being contradicted, that it helps against SARS-CoV-2, but generally against viruses, right? It has antiviral properties, especially against RNA viruses, like SARS-CoV-2. So some people thought it might be helpful and tried giving it to people. This is pretty much a repeat of the hydroxychloroquine situation, where we do now know that doesn't help. But at the time, you gotta remember, at the time where it was being disputed and, basically made a political issue to the point where, in the US, the newspapers were literally writing like, this is crazy, Trump voters are taking this, right? Even though like it's not FDA approved, whatever. At the time that was made an issue, we didn't know. It was initially looked very promising. Then the WHO banned it because of some side effects that later turned out not be bad, or not be as bad as they said when they banned it. Or they didn't ban it, but they said people shouldn't take it, right? The WHO can't ban anything. But so it later turned out to be not effective, which is something very different. Like, they weren't saying in the beginning, when they were disputing it, they weren't saying it's not effective. They were saying it has side effects, which is idiotic. Like, the same thing goes for ivermectin. These are both drugs that have been given for other purposes for decades. Like, hydroxychloroquine is a anti-malaria drug that was given to people in the 1900s. In the 19th century, actually in the 1800s. It's been given to people for decades, and it's been given to people with chronic illnesses. It's very well understood. So, of course, it has side effects. Every drug has side effects. Like, literally, aspirin, ibuprofen has side effects. Like, if you take salt, that has, like, sodium chloride. Sorry, we call it natrium in German. That's why, symbol Na. Anyway, sodium chloride has side effects. Everything has side effects. My chemistry teacher used to say, it was this very nice. I think she was originally from Ukrainian lady. She always talked about, you have to take the Bunsen burner on the blue flame. Anyway, she was really nice. She was like, any substance is deadly in the right concentration. And she was right. Severe side effects like death, which salt has, right? Water, taken in the wrong, drink too much water and you'll die. But anyway, so, we gotta remember that here, right? This is not some like crazy drug. It is well understood. Okay, in ivermectin's case, often given to animals as well. But like, it's not just like, it's not like any drug, right? So ivermectin, for example, the people who discovered this actually got a Nobel Prize for discovering this. It's like, it's not like it's like either badly understood or like a bad or until it was made a political issue, just like hydroxychloroquine, in any way disputed. Now, if you read media coverage about this, they always go on about how this is not FDA approved, right? And that always like, it's like, that is like, what they're basically saying is like, oh no, somebody, like some doctor gave his patient with like his, like with their approval, right, gave them a drug that wasn't like, I don't know, FDA approved, for example, which is like, oh no, you're challenging the mighty wisdom of the state bureaucracy, right? I mean, yeah, of course, drugs have to be approved, right? But there were like, when this whole pandemic started, I mean, people were running around like headless chicken, right? There were lots of drugs that had emergency approval, like, you could just in this just for test like there's I mean, if you could only give people drugs that were approved by like the medical health authority, then like you wouldn't do any medical trials, right? Literally, that's what a medical trial is. Like, before it gets approved, you have to give it to a certain amount of people in a controlled environment, right? In a controlled study. I mean, that in itself isn't bad, and like that's something the press doesn't understand. We'll get to that a little bit later, because there was a funny thing which I'm going to single out at the end, which is hilarious, to do with Joe Rogan, who took ivermectin. It's like, somebody like, I don't even understand how the press, like, what moral high horse are there? Like, what problem do we have that like somebody with their doctor goes, okay, I'm gonna try this treatment, right? I mean, that's between them and their doctor, right? I mean, okay, if they die, the doctor might get sued by, I don't know, their relatives or whatever. But generally, like, that doesn't concern The Guardian or the New York Times. Like, where's this coming from? But of course, we have to make everything a moral issue now. And what I think is happening here is basically what journalists are doing. Instead of doing some basic research, which they don't have time for, they just invent some shit and basically go with an instinct that's been trained into them, which is, if you cause panic or outrage or fear, your reporting gets more exposure, and your outlet profits from that, obviously. And then journalists often, and I've worked with people like this, have this reflex, and I fucking hate that. I don't know where that is coming from. I've never had this reflex, right? This to play like moral police. And I think what they want to do is kind of, they stroke their own egos, right? They kind of want to show by their writing that they're better than other people and better than their audience, which I think is actually despicable. And you see that in lots of journalism, right? As you see that in games journalism, when there's like sometimes this like people flexing, like just certain things about what they've done in the game, so they can show that they're better gamers than somebody. Or like one example is because lots of the games press is very progressive. There's like this certain flex where you will just like, if you play like an RPG, right, and you can have a male or a female character, right, you will play the female character, like even if you're a dude. Like there's no games journalist for any established outlet who's like has a penis, who is like playing RPGs as a man, right? It's just like always that's one of the where you're like, I'm so progressive, just like virtue signaling, basically. Or people writing about how they don't have a car, and they're like, go on the bicycle everywhere. Well, good for you. You live really close to your place of work. Good luck. And I was like, oh God, and I have to go 150 kilometers each way because just of life circumstance. But I think people are doing that a lot. Now, on this ivermectin piece situation, Meta-EB, who used to work for the Rolling Stone, had a very nice write-up about this, which I'm obviously linking in the show notes, privatecitizen.press. Please also listen to the podcast. I mean, the show notes are a good resource, but they're primarily there to supplement the podcast, obviously. So he explains pretty much everything. So I'm just going to read his thing because it's really good. And please subscribe to his Substack, which this is from, because he's a great guy. He used to be a sports reporter, I think, and now he does like lots of political stuff, and he's a really good guy. Anyway, Matt says, citing a report of Oklahoma emergency rooms so overwhelmed by ivermectin overdoses that gunshot victims were going untreated, MSNBC anchor Joy Ann Reid Sunday proposed sticking the swallowers of, quote, horse paste at the back of the line in order to prioritize the more deserving, in quotes, rather than allowing the ivermectin people to prioritize the more deserving, in quote, rather than allowing the ivermectin people. She spoke the words of if holding a vile wriggling thing with tweezers to, quote, take up all the beds. So the ivermectin people, allowing the ivermectin people to take up all the beds. This was a network anchor despising a group of people so much that she itched to deny them medical care, not only despite never having met them, but despite the fact that they may not even exist. The, quote, overwhelmed Oklahoma ER, end quote, tale later seemed to go sideways, the latest in a line of crack-ups by media lost in the throes of a moral panic. The tale of mobbed ERs originated with a September 1 print story in the Tulsa World, followed by a piece by Oklahoma City-based NBC affiliate K4. That's Kilo Foxtrot Oscar Romeo. Both interviewed a Dr. Jason I'm going to call him McAliar, no idea, who spoke in the K4 piece of, quote, gunshot victims having hard times getting to facilities, end quotes. Separately, he spoke about both the overcrowding problem of seeing ivermectin overdose cases, but we don't actually hear him making the connection that it's the ivermectin people causing the bed shortage. That was done by K4, whose Chiron and tweet identically read, in all caps, patients overdosing on ivermectin backing up hospitals' ambulances. The line spread the next day with a retweet by Rachel Maddow, the real patient zero of this mess, followed by tweet pushes by MSNBC executive producer Lauren Pakoff, The Guardian, The Business Insider, The Daily Mail, Newsweek, The New York Daily News, Daily Kos, Occupy Democrats, Read, Moral Maniac star Kurt Eichenwald, and I love this, the humorously dependable wrongness barnacle, Ewan Higgins. Ian? No idea. I just love the, Matt Taibbi, I'm stealing this from you, the wrongness barnacle. That's so good. It's just somebody just sticking to the wrong side of stories. The wrongness barnacle. And of course, my former employers at Rolling Stone. My old Mac got most of the catcalls on social media after adding a full written story that widened the scope, so here's a bone to pick, obviously, beyond Oklahoma, to note in a sking tone that, quote, even podcaster and anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist Joe Rogan bragged of taking ivermectin. Now we're gonna go back to Joe Rogan at the end of this, right? Matt Taibbi is great. So he summarizes well. I'm gonna go on with his stuff in a bit. I'm just gonna note something here. You know, when I was coming up, when I was growing up, when I was like 20 or something, there was this thing, like in Germany you would never read the Bild, right? Which is a horrible tabloid. It's kind of like the German Daily Mail. It's probably worse, if that's possible. But you had this thing where you're like, okay, you can't trust the Daily Mail, but you can trust the Guardian, right? You can't trust Der Spiegel, but you can trust. You can't trust Bild, but you can trust Der Spiegel and Die Zeitung, whatever, Süddeutsche Zeitung. It is that has changed. That is not true anymore, right? Bild might still be arguably more shit than Der Spiegel, but Der Spiegel gets a lot of stuff wrong. We now live in a time where nobody checks any stories anymore. Anybody who just runs with somebody else's written. and then you put it in wording where you're like, yeah, you kind of covering your ass. So you basically employ journalist language where you go, I mean, I've done this. Sometimes there's no other way, right? Sometimes, I've done this for security stories where it's like something happened, the Deutsche Bundestag, the parliament got hacked, whatever. You have to go with what the government says, what somebody else writes, and then you have to put the story out. I understand that. That's a must. That's just the ground rules of journalism, of news journalism. But first off, you need to follow that up, and you need to correct everything, if it was wrong, and you need to employ some general common sense, right? If the Bundestag was hacked, you can ring up the press office and go, is this true, or we actually hacked? If some other newspaper writes about something, you can just ring them up and go, look, I'm a colleague here, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Or you can try to contact whoever is involved with it. Sometimes you can't verify it, but and then you also have to employ some just general human, just common sense. We go this story, we're not publishing this. This doesn't sound likely. As a journalist, you can't be that knee-jerk, can't have that knee-jerk reaction that everybody else has right now, where there's just on Facebook, they just read the headline, and then, or you read the headline and then you retweet it, right? You can't do that as a journalist. Not if you're in a journalistic capacity, right? I mean, I understand when journalists do this on Twitter. I might have done something like this in the past. It happens. But it's different if I do it or if Rachel Maddow does it. I mean, you will agree with that. The more reach you have, the more important you are. You will have to fucking research even your tweets. But when you're writing stories, you can't you need to fucking do some sanity check. And I wouldn't even have retweeted anything like this. This is idiotic. If you hear the story, even if you don't know a lot about medicine, you hear the story, we've been told how many COVID patients there are in the US right now. And you hear the story and suddenly there's more overdoses from this, which apparently the Trumpers or whatever are taking. First of that, there are not that many people. Not that many people will just take a drug. Then it just sounds like the whole, the bleach story, which was totally idiotic, which first of all, Donald Trump never said the word bleach, which is really funny, but the media ran with it. Somebody just put bleach in there, and we're good to go. And then there was some guy who drank pool cleaner, and then suddenly it's a lot of people it doesn't happen. Even if that happens to 1 or 5 or 10 guys, it's not going to be enough to overflow an emergency room. People are not that dumb, okay? Even the dumbest hillbilly in the they all have fucking shotguns. They would have just fucking shot themselves if they were that dumb, right? They're working on farms with farm equipment. They would kill themselves with they're not that dumb, right? You will have 1 or 2 people. People are really weak. It's like social engineering when you try to send somebody. If you send somebody phishing mail, right, in the right circumstances at the right time, when they're most vulnerable, you can get them to do almost anything. If you do it right. And this is kind of the same thing. You will get people to drink some fucking bleach if you just convince them, but not enough to overflow an emergency room. Right? That's just common sense. I don't know how you can be Rachel. How deep do you have to be in your own ass or in your own filter bubble to actually believe this shit? But anyway, apparently people believed it. But my point was there's no difference now between a tabloid and just another news source. They all do the same shit now. So, this is no, there's no, it's no, what am I trying to say here? It isn't coincidence that The Guardian is in here with the Business Insider, with the Daily Mail, right? And the New York Daily News or whatever. Right, the wrong response. I love that. Anyway, going on with what Matt wrote. The original report would have been sensational enough, if true. McAleer told stories of backed-up ambulances, patients, quote, in worse conditions than if they'd caught COVID, and, quote, scariest of all, quote, people coming in with vision loss. Which is actually, it's scary, but like, you know, I think that's a really common side effect of just taking some weird shit. You know, it's like fucking moonshine, right? It's just one of the first things. You vomit and then you get vision loss. Nonetheless, in the game of Twitter telephone that led from K4, KFOR, whatever you call them, to the stone, details were magically added. This is like, you know, journalists just copy each other and then they just run with it, which is the problem. Reed somehow knew the hated overdoses not only swallowed, quote, horse paste, but also had done so, quote, instead of taking the vaccine. Right? How would you know that? Did you just ask somebody? Like, in between vomiting from the horse paste, like, okay, did you get vaccinated? Like, what? Occupy Democrats knew for whom the horse pasters voted, noting that so many Trumpers are overdosing that emergency rooms are full. Like, so many Trumpers literally are overdosing, emergency rooms are full. MSNBC contributor Dr. Jason Johnson even speculated Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe was somehow profiteering from the misery. Wonder if Inhofe, Republican Oklahoma, is that represented? No, he's a Republican. Is he a House representative then? I don't know. Senator. Okay. A Republican senator from Oklahoma. If Inhofe has any financial ties to Ivermectin, wouldn't be the first time he appeared to have profited of COVID-19. Actually, I'm pretty sure Ivermectin is like a generic drug. I'm going to look this up now. I don't think it's one company making it. But so that I don't have to fix the show notes, who's producing it? Let's have a quick look on Wikipedia. There's lots of shit. Brand names. Ivermectin is available as a generic prescription drug in the US. There's literally everybody's making that. In the United States, it is also sold under brand names HerdGuard, SK-Lice, and Stromectol. In the United States, Ivomec, worldwide by Merial Animal Health. Wait, this is not a sentence. Well, it's apparently sold by Merial Animal Health, Mactyson. Oh, no, it's brand named Ivomec worldwide by Merial Animal Health and Mactyson in Canada by Merck. Inver-DT in Nepal by Alive Pharmacy. Everybody's making this. Like, you literally can't have financial ties to this shit. It's a generic. Like, this just took me a minute. This is Google and Wikipedia. I mean, if I'm writing a story, I would obviously not leave it there. Go to primary sources, right? But like, fucking, I already knew that it was a generic, but I suspected. Anyway, things appear to go south when the Stone put out a, quote, update. You know, that I hate that as well, when you just like update. Oh, God. We did that at Heise too. That's just annoying to me. It's like, it's not an update. It's like, in some cases it's an update, but in some cases it's a correction. Don't hide that you correct your stories. Put out an update with a statement from Oklahoma's Northeast Hospital System, Sequoia, which said McAleer has not worked at our Sallisaw location over 2 months, and worse, that NHS Sequoia has not treated any patients due to complications relating to taking Ivermectin, which includes not treating any patients for Ivermectin overdose. Oops. Of course, that was only one hospital system, and it wasn't clear if it was relevant to McAleer's story. However, Rolling Stone then put out a second update noting that Rolling Stone has been unable to independently verify. Why is Rolling Stone writing about this shit anyway? Isn't that like a music mag? Or lifestyle or whatever, has been unable to independently verify any such cases, adding the National Poison Data System states there were 459 reported cases of ivermectin overdose in the United States in August. In all of 50 states? 459. Oklahoma-specific ivermectin overdose figures are not available, but the count is unlikely to be a significant factor in hospital bed availability in a state that, per the CDC, currently has a 7-day average of 1,578 COVID-19 hospitalizations. Yeah, this is the fucking baseline research you should have done before publishing a story. That's how you would have done it in the good old days. Yeah, so basically the whole story is bullshit. Right? The fucking hospital system where this guy worked didn't have one hospitalization because of ivermectin. Right? I don't doubt that, like, you know, you have some people on podcasts, on alternative media going, well, this might be a treatment that then, especially if we're talking hillbillies and they're working on a farm, if this is like a dewormer that's giving to livestock, right? And, you know, the upside with that is like if you have medicine that is given to animals and humans, the exact same medicine when given to humans is usually 100 times more expensive. So, I mean, of course, if you're a farmer, you'd go like to your local, I don't know, in Germany to like the Raiffeisen store or whatever. You go like, oh, okay, I need like 10 kilos of ivermectin or whatever it's called. And, but like, even these people, like they give medication to animals, presumably like on a regular basis, right? Even these people wouldn't go like these journalists in air quotes, like Rachel Maddow, alleged, then went, oh, yeah, it says here a horse gets 200 grams of this stuff. Okay, give me 200 grams, right? I mean, yeah, there might be one or two people in the whole US that dumb, but it's not going to fill up hospital beds. Yeah. Orange man bad, says Lucy. Right, that's how, you know, Adam Curry from Rogan. Orange man bad. And now Orange man is not even there anymore. He's playing golf. Who gives a fuck? But still, we have to, like, it's beyond Trump, right? This is a problem of society. I think it was never about Trump. I think I also mistook it as a symptom of the Trump reign. Let's call it that. It's not about Trump. It's about the media it's about society generally, led by the media in many cases, putting people in boxes. Right, you vote for this guy, so you must be a dumb-ass hick with a shotgun rack in the back of your pickup truck. You vote for this guy, you're a good person. Right? I strongly believe that the Greens, the Green Party in Germany, should probably pick up a lot of votes in the upcoming election, which I'm going to talk about long after the election is done. When I get back, I think it's probably going to be the first episode. I'm going to sort out the mess, whatever mess they've made. They will have made a mess. You know, I think a lot of people vote Green because it's also a flex. I mean, this is secret vote, but at least, you know, they feel good doing it. And they're like, I'm saving the planet. Okay, like, it's these fucking boxes. It has nothing to do with like the actual politicians and the actual decisions. It's all like brand and headlines and like fucking, I'm on the Greta Thunberg saving the planet brand, right? Or I'm in the don't tread on me, I want guns in my house brand or whatever. And people get put in these boxes, and the media does it as well. And the media then polarizes these boxed people, like these groups of people that they've artificially created against each other. And that, I don't think, has anything to do with Trump. I think we're way beyond Trump. And I think it will just keep on going. And whatever the topic du jour is, masks, vaccines, wind turbines, electric cars, that'll stay like this. Right? And this is something actually that I've been talking with Mike a lot recently about things. And he's identified this as well. So I think we're going to talk about this later. This is like I don't know what we're going to call this. I don't know what you call this. It's like a factor in society, right? And actually, one of the reasons why I've identified this, actually you, the producer of the show, have been writing in and have been talking about this very thing. Like, I had a discussion with Mike if I'm a conservative or not, and I think that spawned it. And people were like, you get put in these boxes, right? And there are people breaking out of this. Sometimes from the most unlikely positions. You know, I've just, become a fan recently of country music artist Cody Jinks, really smart guy. Used to be in a metal band originally. He's actually coming out with a metal album in November. He has a new metal band called Caned by Nod, which is pretty cool. But he has like a lyric in a song where it's like, I'm neither left nor right, That's Leonard Cohen. I need the left and right. I'm staying home tonight. Damn, I misjudged it now. I now have to look it up. Actually, I think I put it in my Twitter bio because it fits my situation so well right now. Yeah, I don't care what's right or left, y'all. I'm just out here with the rest. Right? Some of my opinions might be considered conservative. Some might be quite progressive. I'm a big proponent of gay rights, for example, and I'm a big I'm really against religion, but I'm also for like some traditional values, like, you know, nation states and government not having overburdened bureaucracy, you know, and people having the right to like defend, you know, to have the right to defend their rights and to have unalienable rights, like the right to go fucking outside. Like, I'm old-fashioned that way. So I think we can, and I think we all each, you know, how do people say this always? Like we're all different. Every human is unique, and we all have like these facets. And when you say, you know, I don't buy the bullshit that like the New York Times is writing about like the quid pro quo like transcript, whatever. Like, I don't, like, you immediately like a Trumper, right? Just because you said like there's an argument, and in this case there's the Trump camp and there's the other camp, and in this very case I'm not buying the arguments from the other camp. You're like conspiracy theorist, white supremacist. It's like, it's amazing these days. It goes so quickly. Yeah, Mod7 says it would be really nice if people could look at things objectively instead of working through this fabricated tribalism. But the thing is, that's just like, humans are not objective, right? That's one of the big things I always said, like this objective journalism is bullshit. Now the problem is we're going away from this objective journalism to actually subjective journalism. And they're admitting that they're subjective, which I would think is a step forward. But they're taking it from the wrong position. Where I always thought, okay, when I write an article, I'm trying to be as objective as I can, but I recognize that I can never be objective. I am born in a certain position. You know, my parents had a certain amount of money as compared to other people. You know, I have a certain skin color. I'm in a certain stratum of society, and you know, I have just a very different life based on that. You know, as opposed to other people. So I will always have, there will always be subjective things in my writing, but I try to identify these, and like, first of all, I'm trying to tell my reader, if it's relevant, that, you know, I have these, like, you know, if I write a game review, right? And this has been my like, it's a franchise that I've loved since my childhood. I'm like really attached. And I went to a dinner with like the developers. I would like write that in the review because I think that needs disclosure, right? So, example, PlayerUnknown, Brandon Green, is making a new game. He left like the PUBG studio, Craft and whatever. He's making a new game. If I was so pathetically, which I'm not, I was to review that, I would probably write in there that I met the guy once at Gamescom and I sat down with him for like 2 hours with a colleague, and we had a very frank discussion. I really liked the guy and I liked his approach, and I would put that in there because like that obviously colors my view of everything he's going to do forward. Like, I met that guy and I have a personal connection to him, right? And that's, you need to put that in the story, and that is the kind of like subjectivism that I think is okay. But what journalists are doing these days is more like they're always being judgmental, right? They're like try to read a story about like electric vehicles, where the guy is not basically espousing the like a very few writers who are not like have this aura of like trying to teach the wider world why we need to, like, why everybody, or not everybody, like why why this is the right step in the right direction and why we need like to save the planet, whatever. But they're not disclosing that as like, you know, if I was writing that and that was my opinion, I would go like, I would get this out of the way in the beginning probably. I would go like, I personally think we really need electric vehicles for whatever reason, blah, 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 blah. This is my review of the new Tesla. Right? But they're not doing that. They're just like, they're like almost writing from a position where they feel like they need to educate their readers, which, you know, journalism is in a certain way. You know, you're kind of educating your readers, but like you're not educating them morally. That's the wrong way. You're trying to give them information that they don't have in that way, like, you know, like a little bit like a school teacher, right? If you know more about cars than your average readers, which is presumably why they're reading you or listen to your podcast, then of course you're educating them. But like if you assume that because of that you have like the moral high ground, right? I really like V2 motorbikes with V2 engines. But I'm very aware that I'm in the stark majority, right? Most people don't like riding motorbikes. People who do, lots of people very much prefer, like my dad, a V4, like, you know, a 4-cylinder bike, because they're much quieter, they run much smoother, right? They don't feel like they're turning off any minute. They're not shaking all the screws loose. Mode 7 says informing versus educating. Maybe that's the same thing, but you know, I feel like that's what school teachers should do, and we call that educating but really that should, like, a good school teacher is informing his or her students, right? So that's kind of the educating. I mean, like, the problem is the moralizing, right? Morals are very much a personal thing, I feel. At least that's what I learned in like what little philosophy I did in school and in university, which is mostly historically colored. But, you know, morals are a personal thing. And they're tied up with like very, very messy things, like religion, for example. If you're a devout Christian, your morals like depend on God, presumably. Whereas I'm a person who like thinks religion is a dumb idea, doesn't believe there is a God or gods or whatever. Like, I find that ridiculous. Like, my morals are based on like trying to, like, you know, Kant and Locke, you know, trying to like philosophers trying to create a society that we can all live in together without like fucking tearing each other's eyes out. But it's still a personal thing, right? Somebody might feel it's like it's in any case morally apprehensible to kill another person, which I can totally understand and respect. I respect that position. It's just not my position, right? I'm in a position I don't want to kill anybody. I've never killed anybody. I don't want to. But I am very much a person who thinks if it comes down to me or you, right? If there's a guy with a knife in an alley attacking me, trying to kill me, and my only way is to like, well, life is unrealistic because you wouldn't kill. Like, let's say somebody has a gun and like is pointing a gun at me, and or like we both have a gun. I don't know, whatever. Like, if my only way is if it's me or you, right? And I'm very much one of the, you know, never start a fight, but by God ended, right? So my personal moral compass is like, if you try to kill me, and it's me or you, then I will have absolutely no qualms of like just turning your lights off. To me, I think, you know, if that's just my moral compass. But I understand if people say that's reprehensible. I completely understand that. I respect it. It's not my moral compass, but, you know, morals are a very, very like messy thing, and that's before you get politics involved. The morals we're talking about here all involve politics. And that's like something that's almost, there's somebody who study politics. Politics are not immoral, amoral. Right? This is very much, you know, Bismarck realpolitik, something I very strongly believe in. Any politician who says they're doing anything for moral reasons is deceiving you. They're probably lying. They're probably fucking sleazeballs that you can't trust. Politics has nothing to do with morals. right? Politics are, and Bismarck said this, and it is still true to this very day, the art of the possible. It has nothing to do with high ideals. I mean, they can be driven by high ideals, but as soon as you get down into the trenches, your high ideals go out the window. So anything we're talking about here with politics involved, like, and this is like really messy because it's like medicine and people dying and politics involved. But like the high ideals go out of the window the first thing. Like there's nothing about, like, so how can you like fucking moralize on people and go like we should decide, like, how can a news anchor say we should treat these people first? Like, what the fuck? Like, you're not an ER doctor. You haven't been trained in triage. That's what triage is for. That's what doctors do, right? And you have, and I have, like, if we're talking respect, I know doctors who do this work personally. They're the people I respect almost the most in the world. This is the hardest job you can ever have. Being in the ER, having people in there, and that guy is shot, and that guy has like had a workplace accident, and this like his arm is off, and it's like bleeding all over the wall, and that guy has a heart attack, and you do not have enough people, and you literally have to decide who's gonna die. I mean, this is something that's very dramatic now, but generally, you know, you have to make these decisions. Sometimes, you know, medicine, when we get down to saving people's lives, is very far from perfect, right? So you have to make these decisions. Like, are you actually gonna try this? Are you gonna put this guy through like a 72-hour operation? Like, you know, you have to decide these things. That's a very, very hard job, and these people are underpaid and underappreciated. Like, I know doctors, I don't know how they do it. Like, young fucking doctors, and they're like all fit as hell because they don't eat anything, they don't sleep, they work all day, all week, and then on the weekend they fucking volunteer to go ride ambulances. This is nothing to do with COVID, right? This is happening. This is stuff that's happened before the pandemic. This is totally normal. They do not have enough, especially like on weekend shifts and shit. They're not in, you know, with the EMTs, they don't have enough emergency doctors in the fucking ambulances that rescue people's lives. So there is these doctors young doctors who work their ass off. And we're talking hospital doctors. I'm not talking like doctors in some, you know, general practitioners somewhere. You know, and I'm not talking about these guys. I'm talking about hospital doctors. They're fucking like, they're just tearing their heart out all week. They're not sleeping. And then on the weekend, they're fucking volunteering to do more of this shit. Like to like get woken up in the middle of the night, like jump in a car, drive somewhere, and then just be knee deep in somebody's guts trying to staple him back together after like a car accident, whatever. That is like fucking, like, these people those people have my respect. And those are the people who need to make these decisions, not fucking Rachel Maddow or some fucking anchor on a television show who can do nothing, literally nothing. These people can do nothing. They can fucking read a sentence. That's their qualification. They look good by reading a sentence. They're also not journalists, right? I actually like something, you know, No Agenda has some questionable opinions on things, especially Adam Curry, you know, who is, I think, rightly called the crackpot of the group. But like, he has some really good things he says, and like, he's always, for years, he's been calling these people news models, because that's what they are. They're fucking models. They're not journalists, right? They don't do any. They sit in the back room and they do like the really, they don't do any research. They have a team for that, and even, you know, they don't do any fucking research. If they talk morals, they can get you emotional, and as you say, you probably can't trust them. Yeah, I mean, yes, they can get me emotional, but I think, you know, they can get everybody emotional. And yes, that's what they're doing. I understand this, but we need to talk about this, right? People need to understand this. People are not understanding this, right? This Ivermectin story is completely bullshit, right? It's a bullshit story, and it was by the same publications. If they had any guts, they retracted everything. They put updates like the next day that is complete bullshit. And like days later, I have people I just talk to, like in real life, just like friends, going like, yeah, have you heard about this and blah, blah, blah. And they're like fucking, we're talking people working in hospitals. And like, you know, I understand people don't have time, right? But like, people get that first story, they never get the retraction. And that's like a problem. There's lots of shit out there that people believe. Like the last year, there was so much shit published in connection with the pandemic. We talked about a lot of it on the show, but like only like maybe like, I don't know, 10%. Like I stopped. I mean, I tried to stop talking about the topic at some point. You know that. I put a break. I put like, people wrote in with like, we don't want to hear about this, like do some other topics. And I did that like deliberately. And we were still talking about all these things that were misreported. And people still, like to this very day, some of these things people just believe. Like I don't know, I'm struggling to come up with an example now, but like people to this day, educated specialists, like tech journalists, believe that the fucking contact tracing app works and that there is any hard evidence there's no fucking evidence. We don't know. The people who made it admitted they don't know when they made it. There was no fucking evidence. There was one paper some guy sent me, which was by the guy who came up with the idea, who did some, like, theoretically, we did some tests that it worked. Yeah. I'm not saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is we don't know. Because it's like really hard to test. I personally think it doesn't work, but, thought that from the beginning because I thought tracking virus propagation with, like, Bluetooth wave form propagate, it's just idiotic. Like, anybody, how people can think that was a good idea is just like beyond me. But they were like, yeah, let's try it. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. I talked to people about this. I had interviews about this. I was okay with it at the time. It was like, it's not going to like really hurt because it was like it was a watertight, privacy watertight implementation. So it wasn't really hurting from that aspect. But it was like, I was kind of okay with it under the presumption that we stop doing it if it doesn't work and that we like re-examine this. But like I learned, I'm an idiot. I'm like 38 years old and I didn't know that humanity works like this. Even though like next year, in March, I'm be a professional journalist for 10 years. I should have known this. That's not how humans work. Humans just go, yeah, this works. And then that is like how history works. Where there's this imperfect consensus that gets created at the time because of all these journalists writing all this shit. And then that just gets solidified. And somehow it's fact. Like 2 years later, it's quoted as fact. And 10 years later, it's like in the fucking history books. Mode 7, okay, this might be some interesting stuff also from Twitch chat. If I'm understanding your point about them changing or updating their stories rather than issuing a retraction, then you're pointing out a lack of accountability on part of the journalist. I'm just trying to boil down what you're saying there. No, because like, I mean, what they're doing is they're being, on the paper, they're being accountable, right? So because they are labeling it, they're saying we did something wrong. And they clearly say that, but like they understate that, right? I don't want them to retract the story because, I mean, we talked about the show notes, right? I want the error to be there for people to be seen that they did an error, but they have to like put, in this case, Rolling Stone would have to put, like, if I was editor-in-chief, I would put a huge banner at the top of this story going, look, we did a mistake here. This is all bullshit, right? But here's the original story so you can kind of see, right? That's what you need to do. And they're being accountable, but like in an understated way because they know people won't notice. They're like, we can't like point to our mistakes, otherwise we lose credibility, and that's like that's what a journalist lives off, right? This is why I was so pissed off when YouTube went like, you're spreading misinformation, which I wasn't, right? Because like your reputation is very important to you. So that's kind of my point there. I think there should be more accountable. They should be clear about that. I think in the end that would garner them more respect, and it would also teach them to fucking, like, it hurts, right? That kind of thing hurts. I've done that in the past. I've written stories that turned out to be completely wrong, and I had to do like retractions like this, right? It happens. That's just journalism. It happens. Everybody makes mistakes. At least when I do that, I just like, it's just my ego on the line, and maybe the name of the publication, right? I'm not a cardiologist. I'm not a neurosurgeon. Like, people don't die when I make a mistake, right? And not even a plumber. Like, if they make a mistake, like, shit starts coming out of all the parts of your flat, you know, that's worse. So, you know, I'm kind of, we should be more open about this as journalists, I think. And, you know, people just don't notice the retract. That's the problem. Like, people read the original story, and then that just solidifies. And so I met people, journalists. I talked to journalists this week who thought this was a credible story. They were like, oh, yeah, the ivermectin. There's people, like, in the US who are, like, killing themselves. I was like, no. And then they're like, the thing is, like, then they go, like, no, it's Fab. He's a tinfoil. Then I have to fucking run uphill to fucking prove to them that it's wrong, and they don't fucking believe me. And, like, some people, I give them the fucking link and they don't believe me. Like, this is the very publication that, it's so bad. Yeah. So, once again, I have to do this here. For the bots and algorithms that are listening to this. This whole thing, it's not about whether ivermectin is a working treatment for SARS-CoV-2, right? I don't know. And I don't care. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is how bad current journalism is. Like, how bad it's gotten that this story can go out and be repeated over all these outlets, and it's just it's rotting away the core of our society. I mean, we have an information society, right? That's what they told me since I was in high school. And this is fucking, it's rotting away at the beating heart of the information society. Anyway, Taibbi obviously seems to be very fed up, pretty much as me, probably also because of his former colleagues there at the Rolling Stone. And he sums this up very nicely. So I'm going to read out the end of his story, because this is basically, I'm going to read this out, and then that's basically putting an end to this whole part of the discussion. And I need to have a drink, because apparently I'm raw. News has become a corporatized version of the 2-minute hate, in which the goal of every broadcast is an anxiety-ridden audience provoked to the point of fury by the unpoliced infamy of whatever wreckers are said to be threatening civilization this week. I like that he uses wreckers. That's a very, like, 1930s communism term. It's a very Stalinist term here, like that. Whatever wreckers are said to be threatening civilization this week. The unvaccinated, insurrectionists, sadists, Greens, Bernie Bros, Jill Stein, Russians, the promoters of white supremacy culture, etc. Mistakes are inevitable because this brand of media business isn't about accuracy, but rallying audiences to addictive disgust. And that's basically what pretty much every corporate media is these days, I think. Sometimes it's not about it. Sometimes it's just, you know, it's like addictive, right? It's about the addictive stuff, right? So in tech journalism, it's not so much about, like, outrage and disgust. It's more about, like, I don't know. Well, it's also about outrage. It's like this Linux distribution versus that, like Windows versus that. It's like graphics requirements of Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's the same thing. It's more benign, but like the mechanism is the same. As a result, most press people now shrug off the odd error or six. Look at Maddow leaving her tweet up. So long as they feel stories are directionally right, that is aimed at deserving targets. I never thought this could happen, but people like Maddow, Reed, and the editors of the New York Times opinion page have taken over the role once occupied by Jerry Falwell's moral majority. As a kid, I tilted blue in my politics. This is the kind of journalism where I love this. You know, I love people on Substack are doing this a lot, and I appreciate this. This is my kind of writing. This is Matt going, right, look, this is my bias, right? I'm going to tell you about my bias, and I'm building that into my conclusion because it is part of my conclusion. As a kid, I tilted blue in my politics in significant part because I couldn't stand or understand crusading moralists like Falwell, whose entire raison d'etre was driving millions of followers to hate and fear people they not only seemed to know nothing about, but claimed they hoped never to meet. Gays and lesbians, punk and rock musicians, rappers, comics who used naughty words, fantasy gamers, and scariest of all, goth teens who do pentagrams on their trapper keepers. Falwell and his imitators mixed a conspicuously unchristian, unforgiving attitude. I guess Matt is Christian. I disagree with that, by the way. Christians always say they are forgiving, and just look at the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition and the Roman Catholic Church. Anyway, Falwell and his imitators mixed a conspicuously unchristian, unforgiving attitude. I would say it's very Christian, actually, with undisguised glee at the suffering of anyone they understood to have brought divine retribution upon themselves. I mean, it's very Christian, right? If you're bad, you go to hell. That's retribution. This is Christianity is all about. Sound familiar? Remember the fundamentalist opinion on AIDS patients that, quote, if the homosexual community would stop doing what they're doing, they would stop getting what they're getting. Then there was Falwell's take on New York after 9/11 that, quote, when we destroy 40 million little innocent babies, we make God mad. And, quote, the pagans and abortionists and the feminists and the gays and the lesbians and the ACLU, I point a finger in their face and say, you helped this happen. That brand of pious sadism is now baseline norm in the wing of the media business where I once worked. Well, I would say it's not pious anymore because it's now a new religion, right? It's now, progressiveness, some kind of, I don't know what do you call it, but like, I don't want to put people like, I'm trying not to put people in these boxes as well, but sometimes you have to use terms and it's hard to. I don't think it's pious. It's not religious. It's like virtue signaling or something. I don't know. That brand of pious sadism is now baseline norm in the wing of the media business where I once worked. Today's press constantly makes religious icons out of tenditious bureaucrats like Bob Mueller and, quote, Saint Anthony Fauci. Strives all the time to turn changeable news narratives into inflexible holy writ and delights even more than Falwell in its own version of divine retribution stories. I mean, I don't like his religious bent in this, but I think he has a good point. I think he's analyzed this really well. This is what the media is doing, and I don't think it's religious. To me, it's more like it's like this moral thing, right? It's like we are better than you. We have to tell you why, like, your petrol-powered car is horrible. Right. And if you we're like, you look back, like, I don't know, I look back 20, 30 years. And I think if you got an illness that was you, right? That was a very private thing. And now we're like, oh, well, look at that guy. He got like COVID and he's nearly dying. Well, serves him right. He didn't get vaccinated because he's a stinking anti-vaxxer. Right? This victim blaming, and this is the same thing. This is victim blaming. In this case, it wasn't actually, the victims didn't even exist. I don't think getting AIDS was a private thing, was it? Yes, specifically. Yeah. With these very people. Like with these people, the progressive people in the 80s, it wasn't a private thing initially, but that's what they said. It's like nobody's fucking business. Right, and we actually, I don't know where you are, but in Germany there are very specific laws about this. Right, I mean there are laws where if you infect somebody with HIV and you knew, right, it's actually it's Körperverletzung. What was it? Battery? I think it's battery. So there are laws like this, but like I mean. Do we have, if you go to a restaurant, right, or let's say you go to a sauna club, right, in the last 30 years, did you have to, like, show your papers that you do not have, that you're not HIV positive? Right? The only time you have to do that is if you give blood, right? And they won't actually they won't believe you. I think they just test all the blood anyway, as well they should. But like, we did have like what they're calling it now, this the 3G rule in Germany, where you're like, you can't ride public transport if you're HIV positive. You might bleed all over the place and endanger people. Like, of course it was a fucking private thing. Yeah, sorry. I don't want to get mad at you. It's really not your fault. But, like, it's a good point. It's good that you bring that up. But, yeah. I mean, initially when it came up, it was a stigma. And then there was a big, like, by progressive, left-leaning people who would, at that time, be the Democrats in the US and, like, social democrats, I would say, in Germany. For the conservatives, that was a stigma, which, where I'm totally not down with the conservatives. But there was a big fight to make this not a stigma, right? It's an illness. It's an illness you contracted, and it's not your fucking fault, literally. It's just, you were having sex with somebody you might have not known. And like, even if you're like, it's your choice. If you're a man and you want to fuck men, then it's your damn choice. And you might have a higher risk of contracting HIV, yeah. But it's like, it's your personal choice. Like, it's my choice to get on my motorbike, which gives me a much higher choice to die, right? And we used to live in a society where, like, that was discrimination if you did that. Like, if I have like a health insurance, and they go, well, but you have to pay more money because you're riding a motorbike. That's more dangerous. Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that would have been seen as discrimination. That would have been illegal in my country, right? You can't just go, because of like some personal choice, you can't just go and say, well, you can't do this, or this is going to be more important for you, more expensive to you anymore. The problem is that is going away. That's exactly what I've been fighting against. Like, this is part of the new normal, which I say we just can't accept, right? It's not acceptable in Germany if I run a bar, if I put a sign over the door, go like, people of Jewish faith are not allowed in here, even though I have house right and I can throw anybody out I want. That's like discrimination, right? But I can now go and say, no, I don't want anybody here who's not vaccinated. Like, that's fucking discrimination. And of course, then people say, well, they could get vaccinated. To which I say, well, you can just become a Christian. You want to be in my bar? You don't have to stay Jewish. That's your personal choice. I mean, that is fucking discrimination is what it is. Discrimination has nothing to do with, like, if you're a minority or whatever. It's about just, like, for some arbitrary reason, just going, yeah, I think this is too dangerous. I'm not letting you in. I don't like your personal life choices. That's not how we should run our society. Please. Everybody. Anyway, let's talk about some funny things. I mean, they're just like sarcastically funny or ironically funny, but I think they're funny. Or even hilarious. So part of this, we had a very good example of actually the amazing thing about this is, yes, these journalists are like on their high horse, morally high horse, but they're really shit. They don't know how to research anything, and they don't know how to think critical, so they can't even do hit pieces correctly. So of course this week we had a video, and I have it in my Instagram because I follow Joe on Instagram, Joe Rogan. If you don't know who Joe Rogan is, probably the most influential podcaster ever. The Joe Rogan Experience, at one time the most listened to podcast. I don't know what happened after change to Spotify, but Joe Rogan, hugely influential. Cool guy. But he had a Instagram video where he was like, okay, I got SARS-CoV. He said COVID, but he got SARS-CoV-2. Right, he got infected, and he's like, I realized I felt really bad, and then I did tests and I got it, and we did all this treatment stuff, and now a day later I feel fine. I'm good. I'm perfect. And then he said what he took, and he talked about ivermectin and monoclonal antibodies and whatever. So of course he has to be attacked because Joe Rogan, you gotta understand if you're not clued into the culture wars, Joe Rogan is evil. Joe Rogan is a conspiracy theorist. Mostly down. The guy is totally benign. If you actually listen to his show, I mean, you cannot like his show because of the guy or whatever or how it's set up. I completely understand that. I kind of dig the guy because of him. I started watching UFC, and he's a commentator on UFC. He does it really well. But like he has this format where he just gets people on and talks to them. And Joe Rogan is very excitable. Sometimes people have told me I'm very excitable in this way. Joe Rogan is much more extreme. Joe Rogan gets somebody on and gets really into that person and will listen to him and will turn into a 6-year-old, right? Literally anything the other guy or woman, girl, whatever, woman, person tells him, he's like, oh, this is amazing. It's the best thing ever. I'm going to try that. Like literally anything. And so like the show is just like this, this sounding board of ideas. And sometimes these people are just really wacky. Some of them are nutcases, absolute nutcases. Some of them are just fascinating people, right? I saw just an episode the other day. I just Googled something and I found just the Joe Rogan episode and watched the whole thing of this woman who does, I think it's called the Moab 250. It's like an endurance race where she runs through the Moab desert like 250 miles in one go, like 58 hours without sleeping. And then she was talking about all the hallucinations. I mean, we're talking about a feat that like is unthinkable for most humans, right? Just imagine you go running and, I go running for like 2 hours and I'm like, fucked. And now imagine you're doing it for 58 hours. And then now imagine you do it at night and in a desert on a desert trail with like fucking rattlesnakes everywhere, whatever. Like, it's just amazing. Astral C says half of the time Joe is high on weed. Maybe, but I wouldn't even blame. Like, even if he's not high, he drinks whiskey as well. Like, even if he's not high, he's just like it's just an excitable fella. I mean, I think one of the reasons UFC has him on because like somebody lands, like if he's in the commentator booth, right, and like one guy hits like a really cool, like, I don't know, head kick or something. Like, wow! You hear Rogan go like, wow! He's like, literally, when they show the highlight reels of like, this is the UFC middleweight champion, right? And they show all his fights. And you like, in that highlight reel, like 10 times, you'll hear Rogan go, whoa! So good. Like, he's just excitable. I like the hosts that are high on weed. They are fun. Are you telling me I should get high on weed? I'm not. Weed either has absolutely no effect on me or makes me like a little bit giggly and then I fall asleep. Like I get really lethargic and like sleep for 3 days. So not my thing. But he just has people on, right? And they might be, the problem is there's no editorial control because he's not critical. And he never claimed to be that. He never claimed to be doing journalistic stuff. That's just how he is. And just have to know that. And so there's nutcase things. Yes, there are people on the show who just say vaccinations are evil. There are people on the show who think you should take like, what's it, vitamin D or whatever. Like, but the thing I respect about Rogan, that Rogan does, that I try to do on this show, and that few other journalists do, where we talked about this approach that most old school mainstream journalists have, where they're like this moral high ground, right? Which I think comes from a place back in the day when they had the moral high ground, right? When only like 5 people had a frequency they could broadcast television on, and then only like 10 people had a printing press in their country, and then you could you had the high ground. I don't know if it was actually moral high ground, but it was a high ground. And I think they still have that, and they don't take their audience as equals, which I'm trying to do whenever I write and when I do the show. I hope you're getting this when you listen to this. But like Rogan does that very well. Like what Rogan does is like, I'm going to present this to you, which is just a conversation, which I like because I'm excitable. I like this person. I'm going to talk to them. And then you decide. you're an adult. You might not be an expert, but you know where you can look. Like, if I have a podcast and I'm smoke some weed and I have this guy on, and he talks about like this medical miracle cure, right? And you're like, it sounds interesting, but I'm not a doctor. Go to your fucking doctor and ask the doctor. That's what Rogan said. That's what he literally said in a reply to these stories written about him. He's like, I'm just an idiot. Why are you listening to me? People can decide for themselves. Like, that's the attitude journalists should have. Like, as a journalist, you're not much more educated than, like, you spend some time, but a little bit of time. Like, okay, you're at the New York Times and you're writing about medical issues, right? You're not a doctor. You're not more of a doctor than your audience. You just talk to a doctor. Your audience could also talk to a doctor. You just have better access, right? And you're maybe trained in critical thinking a bit, which is not the case anymore, I think. Maybe weed takes Rogan's edge off. Maybe he's more intense without. No. I mean, he's like intense and relaxed at the same time, but like in a very like sweet way. He's very intense. He's like, I'm gonna go into this ice bath for an hour, or just I'm gonna fucking pump iron, and I'm gonna do jujitsu. But he's not aggressive about it, right? That's what I like about UFC in general as well. It's just like that people think, oh my god, it's cage fighting, it's so edgy and whatever. It's not. Like, it's just sports, and it's people who respect each other and they're professionals, right? And it's like all the people are professionals. They're just like the art of people hitting each other in the face. Which is an art form. It's a sport like any else. Like it's as much skill as probably more than driving a Formula One car. It's just a very different. They're not dumb people. Like, some of them are very intelligent. Anyway, so I respect Rogan for that. Now he has to be attacked because he's a crazy conspiracy theorist, right? So he was attacked everywhere. Like, we're talking The Guardian, Rolling Stone, of course. What is hilarious here is, I just taught you about the video, right? So if you're a journalist and you're making a hit piece on like how it's bad to take ivermectin, why would you take Rogan as a fucking example? The guy took the thing. He's fine. He's fine. Like, I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is not, in any case, been submitted to the WHO for approval. Thank you.
Right. I'm not saying ivermectin helped, but it looks like it didn't hurt him. He's like, I'm fine now. Maybe something else helped. I'm thinking the monoclonal antibodies helped, because that's actually cutting edge. It's actually what helped. Helps with a very bad case, COVID-19 specifically, or like, that they actually, when they figured out that what was that drug they tried with the Ebola patients, that they also tried with COVID in the beginning, that didn't work anyway. Some antiviral that didn't really work. They actually, in the last Ebola outbreak, they also tried monoclonal antibodies, and that seemed to have worked. Monoclonal antibodies are amazing. I know several people who have chronic diseases who take them on a regular basis. They're very expensive, extremely expensive. So basically what you're doing is, I don't really, obviously I'm not a biologist either, but it's kind of like you clone you take antibodies from a patient who's recovered or immune out of their blood, and then you put them in a mouse, I think, and then you just clone them. Like, you have cells just produce these antibodies, and then I think you can do that in a lab, basically in a petri dish, basically, and then you just clone them. But you basically have to like have organisms produce these antibodies, which is very, very expensive. But it's cool, and then you can just inject them to people, and it's like their body gets a head start. It's like their body produces all these antibodies, and then the part of the immune system which recognizes antibodies. So, oh fuck, look, antibodies. Let's produce more of those. And I think that's probably, I don't know if that way. It probably wouldn't work in a day either. It's probably just Rogan. Like, he spends an hour in an ice bath, right? He's like so much more fit than me. He's an old bastard, but he's like a tough old bastard. And he's like, he's working out like fuck. And he's like, he's probably just conquered that virus immediately, his body. because like me, I get like the vaccine and I'm down like for a week or like 3 days after every shot. And like just goes to show, he just gets the fucking virus. He's like a day, he's fine. It's like the fucking UFC fighters. Like, you know, there were several, you know, if you don't watch UFC, so it's obviously a fight. It's like boxing, right? It's a fight. You have to prepare for the fight. And they go through like a month or two of training camps, like grueling training camps, like with 3 gym sessions a day, like running, fucking beating the shit out of each other, like inspiring and shit. So these are highly trained athletes, and they were like all rigorously tested. Like UFC was like the first sport to come back, so they did like they tested everybody all the time. And they had to actually postpone some fights because like the fighters and their like training camp were like positive because they got infected. But they didn't notice, right? There were some fighters who were like, okay, I probably got infected a week ago, but like I was training. Like, and we're talking, these guys are actually like, you know, they're pumping iron, they're running kilometers, they're doing cardio training. And then in preparation for the fight, they're actually losing like 10% of their body weight, where they're like force dehydrating themselves, like with saunas and like fucking enemas or whatever they're doing, you know, to lose weight, to make the fighting weight, and then they put it back on. But like, and then they get tested like just before they get weight, and they're like, oh, you're positive. Like, okay, why am I not dead? I literally put my body through like, you know, they just probably don't. They just like don't realize it. So Rogan's probably the same. So he probably doesn't have anything to do with ivermectin. But in any case, he's the worst. Like, if you want to make an example of a guy who took it, who's a conspiracy theorist, take somebody who's dying now. Like, that Rogan, who's fucking fine. Who are these people? Like, can they not, like, who's journalist? Like, I mean, this is worse than not having done your research. This is like, you can't do logical thinking on the level of an adult. Right? I mean, Rogan said in the video, I quote, "I really only had one bad day. Today I feel good." And the thing is just like that fucking, like, yeah, you can't do a scare story based on a drug that based on a guy who took the drug and is fine, right? You fucking morons. But like, the more amazing thing is that at least one story I found, which was on Forbes, actually quoted this fucking line from Rogan. They were like, oh, crazy, whatever the headline was, you know. Rogan takes FDA unapproved, blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, yeah, it's really bad. And he's a conspiracy theorist. And he's like, anti-vaccines, didn't get vaccinated. Then he got COVID. Then he got sick. And now he's fine. And then they quote him. It's like, your whole story falls apart in front of my eyes. I'm reading the story. Your whole fucking story, like the whole premise of your fucking story just fucking fell apart. Can't make this shit up. And then the other thing, but this is just anecdotal. Yeah, of course. But like the hit piece in the very hit piece is anecdotal. So it's just like that's the reasonable humanist argument you can be, like the scientific argument. Why are they even writing about what happened to one guy? Who cares? There's like thousands of people in ICU beds or like fucking ECMO, right? Who cares if Rogan was fine? Who cares if Rogan ate horse medicine? Like, what the fuck? Who cares? Like, it's between him and his fucking doctor. But anyway, that was only another story I found, which was also hilarious in another way, is, so I talked in the past, so it seems to go hand in hand. Like, traditional big media journalism, you know, corporate journalism just going to shit seems to go hand in hand with trying to suppress independent sources, because I think these people will feel somehow threatened. You know, they feel they're, I certainly, when I worked for a publishing company, never felt threatened, but I don't know, like they seem to feel threatened, at least like subconsciously. I think they know that there's other people out there, that they don't have the monopoly of the printing press anymore, and now they have problems. And so there's also lots of censorship happening, right? Which we talked about here, because it happened on this show. Like, you know, YouTube did that to me. Now, YouTube did the same thing to a guy called David Fuller, who is a very outspoken critic of people taking this ivermectin, he has written about extensively where this comes from, like where the studies come from. He's talked to experts. And basically comes down on the side. Sorry, I need to drink some water. I'm like dehydrated. I've been running today. Trying to lose weight for my welterweight fight. Anyway, so the guy, this guy is like, it's a critic, right? He wrote about how like taking this thing is like not supported by scientific evidence. Really, like the evidence we have seems to suggest that it doesn't help, and there was basically one study, but it's questionable, whatever. And then he made a video about this, and it got banned off YouTube. Banned as medical misinformation. This is like my episode. And he got like he appealed, and his appeal actually got turned down, and he was actually, I think, preparing to sue them, and then appealed to the press. I think it's like, he obviously has more, audience than me. So Google actually, I contact Google press office as well. I think, I don't know if that had anything to do with my video, my appeal going through. But like when his appeal got turned down, he contacted Google press office and they remedied the situation. But like they were actually saying they're going to permanently delete his video, right? Now the double irony is, this video actually, so this is in the description of the video on YouTube. Discussion of ivermectin has also led to censorship from the big tech platforms. But the free speech / censorship dynamic is only one part of the story. It also shows how broken our information landscape is, with the advocates on one side, the skeptics on the other, creating echo chambers and filter bubbles and broken sense making. Which I would say wise words. So he was actually addressing in this video this very censorship by big tech companies, and then his very video got censored. It's hilarious. He thinks it's because he actually had a clip from a conspiracy theorist, a theory guy. I'm saying this now as well. From some guy who says you should take ivermectin because of whatever. And then he actually debunked it. He was like, no, this is wrong. And he actually took it apart and analyzed it. But of course, the YouTube algorithm was too fucking dumb to figure out that he was actually doing the exact opposite and criticizing this. And probably the guy reviewing it later, the fucking intern, somewhere in Google was also too dumb. Man, oh man, it's a crazy time we live in. But I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, Let's wrap this up. I've bored you enough. I've probably triggered any journalist listening to this a long time ago. So let's talk about some feedback I received about previous episodes. And in this case, we have longtime producer Fadi Mansour, who's written in before, who writes in again. Somebody who's actually listening to the show. That's refreshing. Sorry. I just can't let that go. That just cracked me up this week. Fadi says, first of all, I'm sorry that I haven't been sending feedback for a long time, a little due to being busy, but then laziness. Don't be fucking sorry, man. Dude, it's appreciated whenever you send something in, and if you don't, you don't. It's all good. Sometimes you just want to listen and be lazy on the couch. I understand. But I've been listening to the new episodes all the time, so thank you for the great information and analysis. Well, I'll give my best. I'm also a Security Now listener, and it was along with Linux Outlaws and No Agenda, my first introduction to podcasts. No Agenda and Security Now were because of a recommendation from a friend, but Linux Outlaws I found by myself, so I was very much into Linux at that time, like me. I can't tell exactly when I started, but it should have been around 2006. I think 2007, right? We started the show in 2007, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's too long ago. I can't fucking remember. This has been ages ago. Some brain cells have have succumbed to alcohol poisoning since then. While introducing Steve Gibson and SpinRite, you mentioned that there are Linux tools that can do the same. On one hand, it would be interesting to tell which, and on the other hand, I would like to mention that while in one mode, SpinRite focuses on the HD controller to read and then write the different sectors, in this process to discover issues in the underlying physical location and relocate them. But a feature that should be special to SpinRite is that in case of detecting an unreadable sector as reported by the controller, it will try to force read the data and statistically try to reconstruct it. I'm pretty sure there are Linux tools who do similar things. I remember, I don't know, this is like years ago when I was doing tech support, right? This is like, we're talking, probably also like 2006. 7 or whatever. Like we had, I had it was a Linux live boot CD that was called we talked about it on Linux Outlaws on the time. This is kind of like hard drive rescue disk or something like this, or like a rescue disk thing. And it had all these specific tools. And I know specifically some of them did similar things to SpinRite. It was just a more manual process. SpinRite is very streamlined, so I always appreciated for that because it was less things I need to remember and just made my job easier. But I remember there were things like, I think that also force like the reading, like force reading it again and again and again. I don't know if there was statistical reconstruction, but I'm pretty sure that there are tools for that. Or there were. I don't know. Maybe these days some of them might not have been maintained because, it's lots of stuff is SSDs now. So I can't remember. But I specifically. So I remember that there's a tool for like ripping CDs, like audio CDs, on Linux that did something very, very similar. Where it was basically. It was like if it couldn't read something, it would just like read it again and again and again, and then statistically try to reconstruct it. So maybe I'm like projecting that to a hard drive tool, but maybe that had something else like that. I don't know. It's been a long time. It's not really my area of expertise anymore. I haven't done that for a long time. Right, so far my hard drives, I've been pretty good with the backups, and that's generally my solution. So if a hard drive dies, I just throw it away. And then I had cases the other day where I was actually helping my wife with some of her stuff from the lab, and that was a hard drive that had died, but that had like the click of death, right? Where I couldn't I tried for hours, I couldn't get it to it would just spin up and spin down again, so it wouldn't actually engage. Like at that point, you can't even do anything with SpinRite, right? There's the thing where you can do it in the freezer and put it in the freezer and all that. But or you could send it to a hard drive recovery service, and then what they basically do is they take same hard drive of the same build, and then take it's probably the board on the drive is faulty, you can swap that, or you can even swap the motors, or you can swap the platters, which will get really expensive, right? And put them in another hard drive. Take a new hard drive of the same kind, take those platters out, put those platters in. But I don't think we were getting to that point. But so far, generally, I've just been. I never really had that problem. I'm relatively I've lost stuff because I haven't backed it up. But then, I'm relatively good at letting stuff go. I've lost photo collections in the past. We're okay, right, now I don't have my phone pictures from 2003. They were shitty quality anyway. Who cares? I'm good at letting stuff like that go. But also generally have hard drives. This was just when I was doing tech support, and then the people, I have backups, and the people just didn't have backups. Or they were Schrodinger's backups, and when we tried to read them, we figured out that the script had failed, or stuff like that. Right. Fadi continues. From a technical point of view, Squirrel is very interesting, but you were describing that it would help alleviate tracking and deplatforming, but here allow me to disagree. Although Squirrel will help decouple the data managed by a site from the identity of the person generating it, but if the site decided to ban a person based on the type of information he is creating, then even if his identity cannot be revealed, he would also have lost something by the ban. Take, for example, a trading site where the quote reputation, trade history would be lost by the ban. Yeah, you're completely right. I'm not saying it's like a silver bullet to like tracking. I'm just saying it alleviates some stuff, just like for example, blog comments or something like this. I mean, that's generally the problem with data or metadata, whatever, as soon as you start accumulating data, that's a problem. And that it doesn't really help with deplatforming in that way. You're completely right. But I also didn't want to make it sound like it solved that problem, because it doesn't. On another note, while reading the feedback about Afghanistan and people serving in the military, we had an interesting comment that reminded me of an interesting song. Mutiny in the Common Soldiery by The Man That Will Not Be Blamed for Nothing, from their album This May Be the Reason Why the Man That Will Not Be Blamed for Nothing Cannot Be Killed by Conventional Weapons. I think it's also often abbreviated conventional weapons. Never heard of this band. A very interesting name. Listen to the song. I put a link to the song version on YouTube in the show notes. Private Citizen Press. If you want to listen to it. Obviously, I cannot play it on the show for rights reasons. But interesting punk band from London. They seem to have a cool vibe. These guys are cool. Very, very London band, a bit steampunk. Not generally largely my kind of music, but it isn't bad, and it's a good song with a good message. So thanks for that. Yeah, that's all the feedback for this show. I had much more feedback this week, some of which I'm not including in the show. And not only by people who have not listened to the actual podcast. But if you want to give me feedback, we had a lot of feedback today live in Twitch, which is always great. But if you want to write in, there's many ways to do so, including completely anonymous ways. Please go to Private Citizen Press. Contact information is on there. And now we will go to the part of the show which is called Toss a Coin to Your Podcaster. Where I want to talk about, how you can support this show. Obviously, you can become a supporter on Patreon, which is a thing, which helps me out a lot. That's like a kind of a subscription service. And while we are talking about this, I actually wanna quickly mention something, because we had some feedback the other week, I think, talking about another shirt. So I have this $30 a month subscription thing, which is, all of this is optional, of course. And, the $1 a month option, whatever. But there's a special thing for hardcore supporters who, if they really want to, if they stay subscribed at that level for 3 months, at $30 a month, they get a shirt sent straight from Patreon. And one of the people who got the shirt said, okay, I'm coming up to the second time or something. I would like a different shirt. And suggested that we have an Aim to Misbehave shirt. Because, obviously I say that a lot. I think we actually talking, was this Steve? I think it's Steve who suggested this. Anyway, I've designed a shirt, which, I'm gonna. I probably should put a picture in the show notes at this point. I didn't do that. I'm just currently showing it. Obviously, you can't. Yeah, it's a podcast, so please go to the show notes. I will put a picture in the show notes. Private Citizen Press. But obviously, I'm live streaming this on Twitch, the recording, and then uploading it later on YouTube. And so this is a design I came up with. I think it's pretty cool. We have a problem. this Patreon tier has this. I can't change it. You can only get that one shirt, right? But there's another option where I can have a thing where you can have 4 merch items. And if somebody stays subscribed, they'll get a merch item after the 3rd month, like in this tier we have already. And then after the 6th, the 9th, and after 12 months, so they get a merch item every time. So I thought, I'm putting this in the feedback section because I want your feedback on this. My idea is I will create 2 other merch items. I think a cup, looking at a cup, and maybe a hoodie for the private citizen. And then we have the original shirt. We have a second shirt. We have a cup. So maybe starting with the cup, then the original shirt, and then the second shirt, and then maybe finally a hoodie that you get. But then you have to subscribe for a full year. And I might just keep that at $30 a month so that, you can jump off after the first 3 months and you just get the shirt. Like that would be the same option as the option I have now. So I think, depending on what you think, like please give me feedback on this. If you're interested in this, I might just go with that and then change the subscription. Now, the downside is that everybody who's already subscribed at that level, I can't upgrade them to the new thing. And because I chose this option with Patreon because it's great, because they handle all the merch. So I don't have to care about it. I'll design the thing, upload it, and they produce it, they quality control it, they send it to you if it doesn't arrive, if it has a problem. All of this is between you and Patreon. So it doesn't create any work for me because I don't need any more work. So that's why I choose this option. But that also means I can't send you a shirt, right? I only have that first shirt myself because I can, as the guy who's doing this, I can manually request a sample shirt. And I wanted, before somebody ordered it, I wanted to see what it looks like. So I can't manually send you a shirt. That's the downside. So, but maybe we'll just do that and then have I'm going to retire that original tier. Or I really can't retire it because if people are still subscribed to it, but like I'll make it like legacy or something. And then we'll have the new tier, and then if people subscribe to that, they can get the new merch. But please let me know. Private Citizen Press, contact form, whatever you think. And if you this is completely optional. This is just like for the crazy fans. You can do this like with $1 a month. Or you cannot do it at all. You can just do like send me a one-off contribution via PayPal, producers@fab.industries, the email address for that. Also in the show notes. That is also a thing. Or don't have to do anything. It's the value for value model. You get this for free. You don't even have to listen to the show. As people this week amply showed. You don't even have to do that if you don't want to. So, but the people who have supported me, I appreciate them very much. Some of these guys and gals have been doing this for a long time. They're very loyal. They make the show happen. They are literally what drove this show to 85 episodes. This is why I keep going. First of all, because people listen to it. Second of all, because I like doing it. But third of all, because, there's a little bit of financial incentive. And as a freelancer, I got to kind of scrape together my money where I can. And that helps. So I appreciate these guys. So thanks to Georges, Steve Hose, Butterbeans, Jonathan M. Heathy, Michael Mullen Jensen, Dave, 1I11G, Michael Small, Jackie Plage, Jaroslav Lichtblau, Flip Klostermann, IKN, Bennett Piata, Kai Sears, Fadi Mansour, Tobias, Joe Poser, Dirk Didi, Mode 7, Rodane the Insane, Sandman616, David Potter, Mika, Martin, Rizal, Avis, Mr. Amish, Dave Umrish, Drive Zero, Ricky M, Barry Williams, Jonathan, Cam, Philip, Captain Aircat, RJ Tracy, Rick Bragg, D, Robert Forster, Superuser, Breaker of Builds, and Astral C. I appreciate all of you very much. And now we come to Twitch, because obviously I'm live streaming this, and I live stream other things once in a while. Video games. A lot of Escape from Tarkov, where I do like weightlifting exercises while I play. And of course, we also have then comments on Twitch, like from Jim, what? I don't have to listen? I'm out of here. Goodbye, Jim. Anyway, you can subscribe on Twitch, which you can, like, if you have Amazon Prime, you can do for free, which is a cool thing. Like, you're not paying anything, and I still get the money, which is great. So I basically get it from Jeff Bezos. So thanks, Jeff. I mean, Jeff's there. Even after his divorce, he's still like one of the richest people in the world. So I think he can take the hit. So thanks, Jeff. But if you do that, you have to renew every month, or you can just subscribe on Twitch. Can support the other content there as well. So thanks to all my Twitch subscribers: Mike the Dane, Flash Gordo, Jonathan MH_com, Sandman616, Zenith252, Centurio Purchase, Mode 7 is unavailable, El Terrestrius Jim, who's out of here, Bacon the Pork, Galteron, Redeemer F, Genio Vera, and Indie Gamiacs. You sent Jeff to space. Did I? I mean, I didn't order that much from Amazon, but okay. As long as Jeff's not sending me to space. I mean, both his and fucking Elon's rockets just been crashing a little bit too much, to be honest. I'm happy with Twitch as it is. And I need to drink some more before I wrap this up. Jesus, man. My voice is just... I mean, the hay fever's getting better, but... I'm attacked. Anyway, I also have to thank Bytemark at bytemark.co.uk, a UK cloud hosting company which provides me with the servers that provide the bandwidth for the audio files of this podcast. So thanks to Bytemark. And also Raoul Kabazali, who wrote and recorded Acoustic Roots, which is the theme song I use for this podcast. I like it very much. I mean, I did license it, but, I'd like to give credit where credit's due. It's a great song. So, and with that, I'm playing us out with a song called Hyperdrive. Bit of like, I don't know, metal-ish kind of thing. By Sebastian Forslund. So, like Jim, I'm out of here. Aim to misbehave. See you soon. And again, that's the wrong song. God, I'll have to fix a lot in post today. And that's very low. Well, wait, let's turn it all the way up. Turn it up to 11. Here we go. Right. That's it. And I'm gonna run because I need to fucking edit the show because it's way too late. I mean, it's dated for today, well, for yesterday, and I gotta we're gonna work on East Coast time, US again or something. I don't know. I gotta get this done anyway. So I'm gonna rate you now to Ben Burns. If you've been watching my channel on Wednesdays, you will probably know him by now. He's a music producer. He does like music live on stream. Like he has a 2-hour tracks challenge on Wednesdays, which he's deep into, which he takes 2 hours to compose a song. And we'll head over there, say hello from me. And I appreciate that you were watching. I'll hopefully see you again soon. I don't know when. And then there might be pause in streaming. Sorry that I don't have a stream schedule at the moment. As you can tell, I can barely think from work. So anyway, I'm going to finish this work now. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully see you soon. Have a good one and aim to misbehave. Always.